paint dripped down my face, a cold, viscous assault that burned my skin and stung my eyes. As Lauren Mitchell's triumphant laugh echoed through the auditorium at Hillcrest Academy, I stood frozen on stage, 500 students watching, their gasps and snickers a cacophony of judgment, my heart pounding with a fury I'd never felt before. At 16, I, Amari Jackson, was the only black student in my grade at this elite private school in Austin, Texas, and Lauren, the queen of the elites, had just doused me with red paint during my dance performance, her voice dripping with venom. "Now you're marked for what you are." My braided locks, soaked and heavy, clung to my neck, and my mother's beaded necklace, a Ghanaian heirloom, glistened with the stain of her cruelty. I wanted to scream, to lunge, but Mum's voice whispered in my mind, "A warrior's strength is in control." I wiped my eyes, my hands trembling, and walked off stage, my dignity battered but unbroken. Knowing this was only the beginning of a fight I hadn't chosen but couldn't avoid, I'd arrived at Hillcrest 6 months earlier, my backpack slung over one shoulder, my 5'6" frame feeling small against the school's towering reputation. Austin's tech boom had turned Hillcrest into a magnet for wealthy families, its glass-walled campus a symbol of privilege I didn't share. My dad, Leon, a bus driver for the city, poured every spare dollar into my scholarship, his tired eyes bright with hope for my future. My mom, Kofi, a Ghanaian Ottawa dancer and martial artist, had died of leukemia when I was 12, leaving me her teachings, the fluid, powerful movements of Ottawa fused with self-defense, and a mantra of resilience. At 135 pounds, with a 4.2 GPA, I was determined to prove I belonged, but from day one, I was an outsider. Lauren Mitchell, 17, blonde, and impossibly poised, ruled the school with her clique Chloe Mia, and Rachel, her green eyes scanning me like I was prey. In a P literature, when I dissected Toni Morrison, Mr. Hargrove said, "Remarkable insight, Amari," his tone implying it was a fluke for a girl like me. I smiled tightly, swallowing the sting, but Lauren's whisper to Chloe, "She's just pair for the quota," cut deeper than any teacher's doubt. Lauren's cruelty wasn't random. It was calculated, rooted in a need to dominate. Her father, a tech mogul who'd funded Hillcrest's new STEM wing, gave her untouchable status, and she wielded it like a weapon. I saw it in her smirk when she accidentally bumped my tray in the cafeteria, spilling my okra stew, or when she mocked my lokes in gym, saying, "Do you even wash that?" Her elites giggled on cue, but I noticed Chloe's hesitation, her eyes flickering with unease before joining the laughter. I kept my head down, focusing on my grades, but each slight chipped away at my resolve. At home, in our one-bedroom apartment, I transformed our living room into a training space at 4 a.m., practicing Ottawa's rhythmic steps and defensive blocks, the beaded necklace around my neck a reminder of Mom's strength. "They'll attack your spirit first," she'd written in her journal, its pages worn from my touch. To cope, I started a viral dance challenge online, posting anonymous Ottawans routines under the handle Rhythm Rival, blending traditional moves with hip-hop. The videos exploded, racking up thousands of views, comments like "This is fire," giving me a secret outlet where I wasn't just the scholarship kid. The bullying escalated in ways I hadn't anticipated. One morning, I opened my locker, to find it stuffed with red feathers and a note, "Go back to the jungle." The hallway buzzed with stifled laughs, Lauren watching from a distance, her arms crossed, a general surveying her work. I snapped a photo, adding it to my encrypted app, a digital diary I'd built to log every incident. I'd joined Hillcrest's tech club, hoping to channel my anger into something productive, and created this app to track discrimination anonymously, inspired by Mum's belief in evidence as power. In tech club, I met Jaden Ruiz, a lanky sophomore with a quick wit and coding skills that rivaled mine. He was half Mexican, an outlier like me, and his easy smile made the club feel less lonely. "Your app's legit, Amari," he said, tweaking our interface. This could shake things up. I trusted him, maybe too much, until I caught him texting Lauren after a meeting, my app's name glowing on his screen. My stomach sank at, I misjudged him. I didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, I poured my betrayal into a new dance video, its sharp moves reflecting the jagged edges of my heart. And Rhythm Rebel gained 10,000 new followers overnight. Lauren's next strike was personal. In history class, we were assigned a project on cultural heritage, a chance to share something real. I spent weeks crafting a presentation on Ottawa, weaving its spiritual roots with biomechanical analysis, showing how its movements maximized balance. I brought Mom's necklace as a prop, its beads clicking softly as I practiced. When I presented, the class was silent, some students leaning forward, intrigued, but Lauren interrupted, her voice loud. "Did you just make this up from some blog? I mean, have you even been to Africa?" Laughter rippled, and Ms. Turner, flustered, said, "Creative, Amari, but let's stick to verified sources." The dismissal burned, implying my heritage was a fantasy. Jaden spoke up, his voice firm. "She's got the highest GPA here. Why doubt her research?" The room hushed, Lauren's glare slicing through him, but Miss Turner moved on, leaving me exposed. Later, In the restroom, I splashed water on my face, fighting tears, Mom's words echoing. Excellence is your shield. I added the incident to my app, my fingers trembling, and uploaded a new dance. Its defiant spins a silent vow to keep fighting. Secondary characters began to shape my world in unexpected ways. Ms. Patel, a young Indian-American counselor, noticed my tension in a guidance meeting. "You're carrying a lot, Amari," she said softly, her eyes kind. "If you need to talk, I'm here." I nodded, wary but grateful, sensing she saw through Hillcrest's polished facade. Then there was Mr. Coleman, a black custodian who'd worked at Hillcrest for 20 years. His gravelly voice warm when he caught me practicing Ottawa moves behind the gym. "Your mom was a legend," he said, surprising me. "She taught dance at the community center back in the day. Keep her fire alive." His words were a lifeline, connecting me to Mom's past, but also a reminder of the stakes. Lauren, though, was relentless, her personality a mix of entitlement and insecurity. I overheard her in the cafeteria, snapping at Chloe for not laughing fast enough, her need for control palpable. She wasn't just cruel, she was afraid of anyone who challenged her reign. And I, with my quiet defiance, was a threat she couldn't ignore. The drama peaked at a school-wide restorative justice circle, a new initiative Ms. Patel had pushed for to address tensions. We sat in a gym, students and faculty in a ring, passing a talking stick. I hadn't planned to speak, but when the stick reached me, Lauren's smirk across the circle ignited something. "I'm tired of being targeted," I said, my voice steady. Racist notes, memes, comments about my hair. It's not a prank, it's hate. The room went silent, eyes on me, some shocked, others guilty. Lauren rolled her eyes, but Chloe looked down, her fingers twisting. Dean Carver, a stern man with a tech bro haircut, cut in. "Let's not escalate, Amari. We're all Hillcrest hawks here." His words dismissed me, but Ms. Patel's nod urged me on. I passed the stick, my heart racing, knowing I'd crossed a line. That evening I checked my app. Dozens of anonymous reports from other students, detailing slurs, unfair grades, exclusion. I wasn't alone, but the weight of their pain, layered on mine, was crushing. Lauren's retaliation was swift. At Tech Club, I opened my laptop to find my app's code corrupted, hours of work erased. Jaden swore he hadn't touched it, but his nervous glance at Lauren, lingering by the door, told me enough. I rebuilt the code from a backup, my anger fueling late-night sessions, but the betrayal stung. Dad noticed my exhaustion, setting a plate of cornbread beside me. "You're fighting her battles too," he said, meaning Mom. "She faced this folk saying she didn't belong. She danced through it." His words steadied me, but also deepened my resolve. I uploaded a new dance video, unmarked. Its fierce spins a rebuke to Lauren's paint attack, and it hit 50,000 views, comments flooding in. "You're unstoppable." But at school, Lauren cornered me in the hallway, her voice low, venomous. "You think you're special, stirring things up. You're nothing." Her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. She knew I wasn't backing down. I held her gaze, my voice.com "I'm not going anywhere." She stormed off, but her threat hung heavy, a promise of worse to come. That night, as I trained, Mom's necklace swang, I felt the storm building. Lauren was planning something bigger, and I had to be ready, not just for me, but for every student whose voice she'd silenced. The sting of Lauren Mitchell's paint attack lingered in my mind, a vivid scar that no amount of scrubbing could erase. As I sat in Hillcrest Academy's Tech Club room, my fingers trembling over my laptop's keyboard, at 16 I, Amari Jackson, was still reeling from the auditorium's spotlight, where 500 students had witnessed my humiliation, the red paint dripping down my lokes like a brand of shame. My mother's beaded necklace, a Ghanaian heirloom, had barely survived, its colors dulled but intact. A quiet reminder of her Ottawa dance lessons and her mantra, "Control your power, or it controls you." I was 5 feet 6 inches, 135 pounds, and the only black student in my grade at this elite Austin, Texas, private school, where Silicon Valley-style wealth fueled a hierarchy that Lauren ruled with an iron grip. Her clique, the elites Chloe, Mia, and Rachel, followed her every move, but I'd seen cracks in their loyalty, especially in Chloe's hesitant glances. Lauren's latest move was a viral meme. My face photoshopped onto a caricature of a tribal warrior, captioned "Hillcrest's charity case," shared across student group chats with hashtags like #FakeAfrican. The cruelty wasn't new, but its boldness was, and it pushed me to channel my anger into something stronger. My anonymous dance challenge, Rhythm Rebel, had exploded online, my Odo-inspired routines blending with hip-hop to amass 75,000 followers. Each comment, "You're a queen," a spark of defiance. But at Hillcrest I was still the outsider. My 4.2 GPA, a silent rebellion against their attempts to break me. Lauren's attacks grew more vicious, as if my refusal to crumble fueled her obsession. In the cafeteria, she tripped near my table, spilling iced tea over my AP physics notes, her laugh sharp as glass. "Oops, didn't see you there, Amari. You're practically invisible," she said, her green eyes glinting with malice. Chloe lingered behind, her expression conflicted, but she said nothing, her silence complicit. I mopped up the mess, my hands steady despite the fire in my chest, and added a photo of the ruined notes to my encrypted app. A digital fortress I'd built in Tech Club to track discrimination anonymously. The app was my secret weapon, logging every slight, from Lauren's taunts to the red feathers stuffed in my locker with a note that read, "Go back where you came from." I reported the meme to Dean Carver, his office a sterile box of glass and steel, but he leaned back, his voice patronizing. "Teenagers can be harsh, Amari. We don't play the race card here." His dismissal was a punch, implying my pain was my fault, but I nodded, my jaw tight, knowing evidence was my only leverage. That evening I uploaded a new dance video, Unseen Fire, its sharp spins reflecting the rage I couldn't voice at school. The comments flooded in, strangers from Austin to Atlanta saying my moves gave them courage. I felt a flicker of hope, but Lauren's shadow loomed larger, her need to dominate rooted in something deeper than privilege or fear of losing her throne. Tech Club became my sanctuary, where I poured my energy into perfecting the app. Jaden Ruiz, my half-Mexican coding partner, was a whirlwind of energy, his quick fingers dancing over his keyboard, his dark eyes bright with ideas. At 5 feet 10 inches, he was a sophomore with a knack for algorithms and a laugh that eased my "God, this app's gonna blow minds, Amari," he said, tweaking our interface to map bias patterns across Hillcrest. I trusted him, drawn to his outsider status, but his earlier slip mentioning my app to Lauren gnawed at me. Had it been innocent, or was he playing both sides? I pushed the doubt aside, focusing on our code, but Lauren's influence crept in. One afternoon I opened my laptop to find my app's backend scrambled, critical data erased. My heart sank, hours of work gone, and Jaden's nervous glance confirmed my fears. "I didn't do this," he said, too quickly, his hands fidgeting. I wanted to believe him, but the betrayal stung, a reminder that trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. I rebuilt the app from a cloud backup, working late into the night, my mother's journal open beside me. The warrior sees through deception. She'd written her words a guide through the haze of doubt. I added a new feature to the app, letting users upload audio clips anonymously, a tool to capture the whispers that haunted Hillcrest's halls. Lauren's personality was a paradox-polish confidence, masking a brittle insecurity. I saw it in the way she snapped at Mia for liking one of my dance videos, her voice sharp. "Are you stupid? She's not one of us." Mia shrank, but her eyes darted to me, a silent apology. Lauren's power came from her father, a tech titan whose donations bought her immunity. But I sensed her cruelty stemmed from fear that someone like me, a black scholarship student, could outshine her. She wasn't just tormenting me. She was proving her place, her desperation palpable in every calculated move. In English class, I submitted a flawless essay on Zora Neale Hurston, only to receive a C. Mr. Hargrove's red pen scrawling lacks originality. Across the room, Lauren's identical points earned an A, her smirk a silent taunt. I recorded the exchange, my app now a growing archive of Hillcrest's bias, but when I showed it to Dean Carver, he sighed. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Amari. Focus on fitting in." His words echoed Lauren's, a system designed to protect her privilege while dismissing my truth. Ms. Patel, the counselor, became an unexpected ally. At 5 feet 2 inches, with a quiet intensity, she saw through Hillcrest's facade. During a restorative justice circle, a new program she'd championed, she passed me the talking stick, her brown eyes steady. "Your voice matters, Amari," she said. I hesitated, Lauren's glare burning from across the gym, but I spoke, my voice trembling at first. "I'm targeted everyday memes, notes, unfair grades because of my skin. It's not a prank. It's wrong." The room stilled, students shifting uncomfortably, Chloe's face paling. Lauren scoffed, but Ms. Patel's nod urged me on. "I'm not the only one," I added, my app's data burning in my mind, dozens of reports from others, detailing slurs and exclusion. Jaden spoke next, his voice low. "I've seen it too. Amari's not lying." His support surprised me, easing the sting of his earlier betrayal, but Lauren's eyes narrowed, her control slipping. That evening, my dance video, Silent Rebellion, hit 100,000 views. Comments flooding in, "You're speaking for us all." I felt a surge of purpose, but also dread. Lauren wasn't done, she was escalating. The real blow came in Tech Club, where I'd poured my heart into our app, now called Voice. We were set to demo it for a regional coding competition, a chance to win a scholarship to UT Austin. I'd spent weeks refining its algorithm, mapping bias with precision, and Jaden's coding had made it sleek. But the day before the demo, I opened my laptop to find the app's code deleted, replaced with a mocking message, "Nice try, charity case." My breath caught, panic rising, but I saw Lauren outside the room, her smile venomous. Jaden's face paled. "Amari, I swear I locked my laptop," he said, but his earlier texts to Lauren flashed in my mind. I rebuilt the app overnight, my eyes burning, mom's necklace heavy around my neck. The warrior adapts, her journal read, and I clung to that, restoring the code by dawn. At the demo, we presented to a packed room, the app's interface glowing, but Lauren interrupted, her voice loud. Did Amari even write this? It looks like something she copied. The accusation hung heavy, Mr. Patel frowning, and I felt my scholarship teetering. I pulled up my cloud backups, timestamps proving my work, and counted, checked the logs. I built this. The room buzzed, Lauren's face reddening, but Dean Carver stepped in, his tone dismissive. Let's move on, no need for drama. I won the demo, but the victory was hollow. Lauren's sabotage had nearly cost me everything. Mr. Coleman, the custodian, caught me practicing Ottawa behind the gym, his weathered face breaking into a smile. You move like Kofi, he said, his voice thick with memory. She taught me a few steps at the community center, back when Austin was less shiny. He offered to train me, his kickboxing skills sharpening my Ottawa blocks, his stories of mom's courage grounding me. She faced worse than you, kid, he said. Folks called her moves savage. She proved them wrong by shining. His mentorship was a lifeline, but Lauren's cruelty kept pace. She spread a rumor that I'd cheated on the coding demo, whispering to students that my app was stolen. Chloe, usually silent, hesitated before joining in, her loyalty to Lauren fraying. I overheard her in the restroom, muttering, "This is getting out of hand." I added it all to my Apruma's sabotaged code. Dean Carver's dismissals, knowing proof was my shield. Dad noticed my exhaustion, his hands rough as he set a plate of greens beside me. "You're fighting her fight, Amari," he said, meaning Mom, don't let them dim your light. His pride was my anchor, but the weight of his sacrifices pressed harder. Lauren Mitchell's threat in the parking lot lingered like a storm cloud. Her words, "I'll end you," a sharp blade cutting through the humid Austin air. As I gripped my mother's beaded necklace, its Ghanaian beads warm against my skin, grounding me in her legacy of strength. At 16, I, Amari Jackson, stood 5 feet 6 inches, 135 pounds. My looks still faintly stained from the paint she'd doused me with weeks ago. A public humiliation that had left Hillcrest Academy buzzing. My app, Voice and Heard, was gaining traction, with 50 anonymous reports of discrimination flooding in, exposing the underbelly of this elite private school in Austin, Texas. My 4.2 GPA was a quiet rebellion, but Lauren, the queen of the elites, saw my defiance as a threat to her carefully curated empire. Her green eyes, once cold and commanding, now flickered with desperation, her blonde ponytail swinging as she stormed off, her cliquey Shloe Mia Rachel trailing behind. Their loyalty, fraying like a worn thread. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. The reports on my app, from hushed slurs to unfed attentions, showed others were suffering too. My mother, Kofi, a Ghanaian Ottawa dancer and martial artist, had taught me to channel rage into precision, and I felt her spirit urging me forward. As I prepared for Hillcrest's first cultural festival, a stage to showcase my heritage, and I suspected Lauren's next battlefield, the festival, was my idea. Born from a late-night journal entry inspired by Mum's words, "Your heritage is your armor," I'd pitched it to Ms. Patel, the counselor, who saw it as a chance to bridge Hillcrest's divides. At 5 feet 2 inches, with a fierce determination, she'd become my anchor, her brown eyes steady as she approved the event. "This is your moment, Amari," she said, her voice warm. I spent weeks planning, organizing booths on African, Latinx, and Asian cultures, with my Ottawa dance performance as the centerpiece. I practiced in our apartment's living room at 4 a.m., my staff slicing the air, blending Ottawa's fluid steps with defensive moves Mom had drilled into me since I was 12. My dad, Leon, a city bus driver, watched one morning, his tired face softening. "You're her spitting image, Amari," he said, handing me a glass of water. She danced to fight back, too. His pride was a lifeline, but the weight of his 3 jobs pressed on my eye couldn't let Lauren's schemes derail our dreams. My dance challenge, Rhythm Rebel, now had 200,000 followers. My latest video, a defiant Ottawa routine, going viral with comments like "This is power." But at school, Lauren's shadow loomed, her whispered plans reaching me through Chloe, who'd started lingering near my locker. Her eyes conflicted. In tech club, my app was evolving into something bigger. I'd added a podcast feature, letting students share stories of bias anonymously, inspired by Austin's vibrant podcast scene. Jaden Ruiz, my coding partner, threw himself into it, his 5'10" frame hunched over his laptop, dark hair falling into his eyes. "This is next, Amari," he said, his voice bright, but his earlier betrayal sharing my app with Lauren still stung. I watched him closely, his quick smiles masking a nervousness I couldn't ignore. "I'm sorry about before," he said one afternoon, his hands fidgeting. "I didn't know Lauren would mess with your code." His apology felt genuine, but trust was a fragile thing, and I nodded without committing. We launched the podcast Unheard Voices, and the first episode, a Latina student's story of being called too loud, got 1,000 downloads in a day. The app's data now showed patterns. Minority students were disciplined 3 times more often than their white peers, a fact I shared in a restorative justice circle. Ms. Patel nodded approvingly, but Dean Carver's face tightened. "Let's not stir division," he said, his tone sharp. Lauren, sitting across the circle, smirked, but Chloe's silence spoke louder, her fingers twisting in her lap. Lauren's cruelty wasn't just personal. It was a performance, a way to prove her dominance in a school where her father's tech wealth bought her immunity. I saw it in her sharp commands to Mia, who flinched when Lauren snapped, "Don't talk to her," pointing at me in the hallway. Lauren's insecurity was a crack in her armor. She feared anyone who challenged her narrative of superiority. And my app, my dance, my very presence were threats she couldn't control. One day, in AP Chemistry, I aced a lab, earning Mr. Rare praise, but my report came back with a B, marked inconsistent effort. Lauren's identical work got an A, her smile smug as she passed my desk. I recorded the grades in my app, my heart pounding with frustration. Mom's words echoing, "Excellence is your shield." I confronted Mr. Dawson after class, my voice steady. "Why the difference?" Our answers were the same. He stammered, "I expect more from you, Amari." His excuse flimsy. I added it to my app, the data piling up like bricks in a wall I was building against Hillcrest's bias. Mr. Coleman, the black custodian who'd known Mom, became my rock. At 60, with a limp from his kickboxing days, he trained me at the East Austin Community Center, 3 miles from school, his gravelly voice guiding my Ottawa blocks. "Your mom faced this," he said, adjusting my stance. "Folks called her dance primitive. She shut them up by winning." His stories of Mom's grace under fire fueled me, and I refined my festival performance, weaving Ottawa with modern choreography to tell a story of resilience. Chloe approached me one day, her voice low. "Lauren's planning something for the festival," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "She's mad about the app." I nodded, my stomach tightening, but her warning was a crack in the elite's wall, a sign Lauren's control was slipping. I thanked her, seeing guilt in her eyes, and added the tip to my app, my fingers trembling with anticipation. The festival was 2 days away, and I knew Lauren's next move would be her boldest yet. The festival arrived, transforming Hill Courtyard into a vibrant mosaic booths with tacos, boba tea, and African drums, students mingling under string lights. I wore a Kenta-inspired dress, my locks adorned with beads, Mom's necklace gleaming. My Ottawa performance was set to close the night, a 5-minute routine blending tradition with defiance. As I warmed up, Jaden found me, his face tense. "Lauren's got something planned," he said, his voice urgent. "I overheard her talking about your dance. Be careful." His warning echoed Chloe's, and I searched his eyes, wanting to trust him but haunted by his past slip. "Why? Tell me now," I asked, my voice sharp. He looked down. "Because I messed up before and I'm trying to make it right." I nodded, my heart conflicted, and stepped onto the stage. The crowd's cheers a fleeting warmth. The music started, my staff twirling, Ottawa's rhythms flowing through me. For a moment, I was free, my body telling Mom's story, my story. Then, mid-spin, Lauren appeared, flanked by Mia and Rachel, a bucket in her hands. Before I could react, she flung a mix of glitter and ink, the sticky mess hitting my face, stinging. My eyes looked the festival freak. She shouted, her voice laced with triumph. The crowd gasped, phones flashing as students recorded. I froze, the ink dripping down my dress, my necklace catching the stage lights. Rage surged, but Mom's voice cut through. "A warrior fights when necessary." I wiped my face, my hands steady, and continued dancing, each step a defiance. The crowd's murmurs turning to cheers. Lauren's smile faltered, her plan backfiring as my resilience stole the spotlight. Off stage, Miss Patel pulled me aside, her face furious. "This ends now, Amari," she said, her voice shaking. "We're taking this to the board." I nodded, my app open, uploading the video students had sent me, the ink attack captured from 3 angles. Chloe approached, her eyes red. "I didn't know she'd go this far," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm done with her." Her defection was a shock, a sign Lauren's empire was crumbling. But Dean Carver intercepted us, his face stern. "Amari, fighting on campus is a suspension, no matter who started it." I stared incredulous. "Fighting," I danced through her attack. He shook his head, Lauren's father's shadow looming. That night, my app pinged with 100 new reports. Students sharing stories of Lauren's cruelty, from slurs to exclusion. Unheard voices hit 5,000 downloads. A student's podcast episode about the festival going viral. At home, Dad wrapped me in a hug, his calloused hands gentle. "You danced like your mom," he said, his voice thick. "She'd be proud." I clutched Mom's journal, finding a new passage. "The warrior's fight is for justice, not vengeance." I trained with Mr. Coleman the next day, my staff strikes sharper, his praise steadying me. "You're not just fighting Lauren," he said, "you're fighting the system." Jaden texted, apologizing again, offering to hack Lauren's group chat for proof of her plans. I hesitated, trust still fragile, but accepted, knowing I needed allies. The app's data, Chloe's defection, and the viral podcast were shifting the tide, but Lauren wasn't done. A text from an unknown number hit my phone. "Festival was just the start. Your scholarship's next." Lauren's desperation was clear, her father's influence a looming threat, and I knew the next fight would be for everything: my future, Dad's sacrifices, and Mom's legacy. The ink from Lauren Mitchell's festival attack still clung to my memory, its sticky residue a metaphor for the weight of her hatred. As I stood in Hillcrest Academy's courtyard, my heart pounding with a mix of defiance and dread. At 16, Amari Jackson, was 5 feet 6 inches, 135 pounds. My looks now clean but my spirit scarred, the only black student in my grade at this elite Austin, Texas, private school. My mother's beaded necklace, a Ghanaian heirloom, hung heavy around my neck, its beads clicking softly, a reminder of her Ottawa dance and martial arts lessons. The warrior fights for justice, not vengeance. Lauren's latest threat, your scholarship's next, echoed in my mind. A chilling promise backed by her father, a tech mogul whose influence shielded her cruelty. Her clique, the elites Chloe, Mia, Rachel, was fracturing. Chloe's defection, a crack in Lauren's armor, but her desperation made her dangerous. My app Voice Unheard now had 200 reports of discrimination. Its podcast Unheard Voices hitting 10,000 downloads, amplifying stories of bias that Hillcrest's polished facade had buried. My dance challenge, Rhythm Rebel, had 300,000 followers, my auto-inspired videos a beacon for those silenced like me. But as I faced the fallout of the festival, Lauren's ink attack captured on video by students, I knew this was my moment to break the silence or lose everything. The morning after the festival, Ms. Patel, the counselor, called me to her office, her 5'2" frame radiating fury. "Amari, this is assault," she said, her brown eyes blazing as she replayed the video on her phone, Lauren's voice clear. "Look, the festival freak." I nodded, my throat tight, the sting of the ink attack fresh. "We're taking this to the board," she said, her voice firm. "You're not alone." Her support was a lifeline, but Dean Carver's response was predictable. In his glass-walled office he leaned back, his tech bro haircut gleaming under fluorescent lights. "Amari, you danced through it, which looks like provocation," he said, his tone dripping with dismissal. "Fighting, even defensively, means suspension for you and Lauren." I stared, my heart sinking. "She threw ink at me, and I'm punished?" I asked, my voice steady despite the anger boiling inside. He shrugged, citing zero-tolerance policies. But I saw Lauren's father's shadow in his words. I uploaded the video to Voice Unheard. The app's data now a fortress of evidence, screenshots, audio clips, and student testimonies proving Lauren's campaign wasn't a prank but a pattern of hate. My mother's journal, its pages worn, offered clarity. The warrior prepares for the storm. I was ready, but the cost was rising. Lauren's unraveling was palpable. In the cafeteria, she snapped at Rachel for texting during her rant about me, her voice sharp. "Focus, or you're out." Rachel flinched, her loyalty wavering, and I saw Lauren's fear her empire was crumbling, her control slipping as Chloe's absence left a void. Lauren wasn't just cruel. She was terrified of losing her status, her identity tied to being Hillcrest's untouchable queen. Her father's donations had built the STEM wing, but her insecurity drove her to target me, a black scholarship student who dared to shine. I overheard her in the library, her voice low, plotting with Mia. "She thinks she's untouchable with that app," Lauren hissed. "We'll frame her for cheating at the festival demo." Her plan was desperate, a sign she was cornered, but her father's influence made it dangerous. I added the audio to my app, my hands trembling, Mom's words echoing. See-through deception. I knew I had to act, not just for myself, but for every student whose voice my app had amplified. Jaden Ruiz, my coding partner, was a tangle of guilt and determination. At 5 feet 10 inches, his dark eyes flickered with remorse as he approached me in Tech Club. "I got into Lauren's group chat," he said, sliding a USB drive across the table. Screenshots of her planning the ink attack and the cheating frame-up. His voice was earnest, but his earlier betrayal sharing my app with Lauren made me cautious. "Why should I trust you?" I asked, my tone sharp. He looked down, his hands fidgeting. I was stupid, trying to stay neutral. "But what she's doing is wrong, and I'm done standing by." His sincerity cracked my defenses, and I took the drive, the evidence a weapon I couldn't ignore. We worked late, integrating the screenshots into Voice Unheard, the app now a rallying cry for students. The podcast's latest episode, a black freshman's story of being stereotyped as lazy, went viral, sparking comments from Austin's activist community. Jaden's redemption was tentative, but his skills were vital, and I needed allies to face Lauren's next move. The festival's aftermath ignited a fire at Hillcrest. Students whispered about the ink attack, their phones buzzing with the video, some calling Lauren out, others siding with her out of fear. Chloe, now estranged from the elites, approached me in the hallway, her eyes red. "I'm sorry, Amari," she said, her voice breaking. I didn't stop her sooner. I was scared. Her confession was raw, a glimpse into the pressure Lauren exerted, and I nodded, my anger softening. "Help me fix this," I said, and she agreed, sharing texts where Lauren bragged about the attack. I added them to my app, the evidence mounting. Ms. Patel organized a student walkout, a bold move inspired by Austin's history of protests. At noon, 200 students gathered in the courtyard, holding signs, End biased at Hillcrest and not alone. I stood at the front, my heart pounding, my kente dress a symbol of defiance. We deserve a school that sees us, I said, my voice carrying over the crowd. Lauren watched from a distance, her face pale, her control slipping as students chanted. The local news picked up the story, a reporter interviewing me about Voice and Heard. The app now a beacon for change. Mr. Coleman, the custodian, trained me harder at the East Austin Community Center, his kickboxing drills sharpening my Ottawa blocks. You're not just fighting Lauren, he said, his weathered face serious. You're fighting what lets her thrive. At 60, his limp didn't hide his strength, and his stories of mom's defiance winning dance competitions despite racist judges fueled me. I practiced a new Ottawa routine for a mural project I proposed, a public art piece to honor Austin's diversity, set to be unveiled at the school board meeting. The mural, painted with community artists, depicted Ottawa dancers and tech innovators, a fusion of my heritage and Hillcrest's future. Lauren's sabotage came swiftly. The night before the board meeting, I found the mural defaced with spray paint. Go home. My heart sank, but I photographed it, uploading it to Voice and Heard. The app now a public platform with 20,000 downloads. The podcast's latest episode, featuring Chloe's story of breaking free from Lauren, hit 15,000 downloads. Austin's activists seen amplifying our fight. The board meeting was a battlefield. Ms. Patel presented my app's Data 300 reports, with bias, audio clips, videos, and Jaden's screenshots. I spoke, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. This isn't about one incident, I said, showing the defaced mural. It's about a system that protects some and punishes others. The board, minus Lauren's father, listened, their faces shifting from discomfort to shame. Dean Carver interrupted, his voice sharp. Amari, you're escalating a personal dispute. But Chloe stood, her voice trembling. It's not personal. Lauren targeted her because she's black. The room gasped, Jaden nodding beside me, his evidence undeniable. Lauren, present with her father, stood, her face flushed. She's lying to get attention, she shouted, her composure cracking, her eyes wild with fear. Her outburst, recorded by students, went viral. The hashtag Hillcrest Truth trending in Austin. The board suspended me and Lauren for disrupting school order, a decision that burned like betrayal. While Lauren would retreat to her mansion, my suspension threatened, my scholarship, Dad's sacrifices hanging in the balance. That evening, Dad found me in the living room, my staff still, tears on my cheeks. You're doing what Kofi did, he said, his voice thick, fighting for what's right, no matter the cost. His hug was a lifeline, but the stakes grew heavier. A call came from his supervisor at the city transit office, a cold voice warning of performance issues linked to my troublemaking. Lauren's father, I knew, was behind it, his tech empire reaching beyond Hillcrest. My app pinged with a new message from an anonymous source. Mitchell's planning to frame you for cheating at the board demo. Your dad's job is next. The threat was a blade, cutting at everything I held dear, my future, mom's legacy, dad's livelihood. I gripped her journal, finding a new passage. The warrior's fight is for those who come after. Lauren's desperation was a cornered animal's, but I was ready. My evidence a shield, my allies a growing army, and the murals unveiling a chance to change Hillcrest forever. Lauren Mitchell's threat to frame me for cheating and endanger my dad's job hung over me like a Texas thunderstorm, its weight pressing against my chest as I stood in Hillcrest Academy's auditorium, preparing to unveil the restored mural. At the school board's final meeting, at 16, I, Amari Jackson, was 5 feet 6 inches, 135 pounds. My lokes adorned with beads, my mother's Ghanaian necklace a steady anchor against my heart. The ink attack at the cultural festival, Lauren's viral outburst in the student walkout had shifted Hillcrest's polished facade. My app Voice and Heard now holding 400 reports of discrimination. Its podcast Unheard Voices soaring to 50,000 downloads. My Rhythm Rebel Dance Challenge blending Ottawa with hip-hop had 500,000 followers, each video a testament to my defiance. But Lauren, the queen of the elites, was cornered, her blonde hair and green eyes no longer masking her desperation. Her father's tech empire had shielded her cruelty, but the viral videos, her ink attack, her racial slurs had cracked that shield. As I prepared for the mural unveiling, a public art piece celebrating Austin's diversity, I knew this was my final stand, not just for me but for every student silenced by Hillcrest's bias. The mural, repainted after Lauren's vandalism, depicted Ottawa dancers and tech innovators under a vibrant Texas sky, a fusion of my heritage and Hillcrest's future. I'd worked with local artists, their brushes bringing my vision to life, but Lauren's plan to frame me for cheating loomed. Jaden Ruiz, my coding partner, had warned me. He's 5 foot in frame tense as he handed me more screenshots from Laurent's group chat. She's got fake documents saying you plagiarized your festival demo, he said, his dark eyes earnest. His redemption, after betraying my app to Lauren, was hard won, his coding skills now bolstering Voice and Heard. I'm with you, Amari, he said, and I nodded, trust slowly rebuilding. Ms. Patel, the counselor, stood by me, her 5'2" stature fierce as she prepared to present our evidence to the board. "This is bigger than you," she said, her voice steady. "It's about changing Hillcrest." Chloe, now fully defected from the elites, shared more texts, her guilt driving her to expose Lauren's schemes. "I was wrong to stay silent," she said, her voice soft but resolute. Their support was a lifeline, but the threat to Dad's job as a city bus driver burned. Lauren's father's influence a shadow I couldn't escape. The board meeting was electric, the auditorium packed with students, parents, and Austin reporters, phones ready to capture every moment. I presented voice and heard data 500 reports, audio clips, videos, and Jaden screenshots, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "This mural represents who we are," I said, unveiling the vibrant artwork. "But Hilt BIAS and fair grades. Slurs, attacks as some of us don't belong. My app proves otherwise." The crowd murmured, the board shifting uncomfortably, minus Lauren's father, who'd recused himself. Lauren stood, her face flushed, her voice shrill. "She's faking it all. Those reports are lies, and she stole her demo." Her accusation was desperate, but she produced a forged document claiming my festival code was plagiarized from a UT Austin thesis. The room gasped, Dean Carver nodding as if vindicated. I pulled up my apps logs, timestamps, proving my work predated the thesis, and played a podcast episode, a student's story of Lauren's coercion. "This is the truth," I said, my heart pounding. Ms. Patel backed me, presenting Chloe's texts, and Jaden testified, his voice clear. "Amari built that code. Lauren's framing her." Lauren's composure shattered. "You don't belong here," she screamed, her eyes wild, racial slurs spilling out, recorded by dozens of phones. The auditorium fell silent, her father's absence a glaring void. Chloe stood, tears streaming. "I helped her before, and I'm ashamed. Amari's telling the truth." The board, stunned, called a recess, reporters swarming. Hours later, they returned with a decision that shook Hillcrest. Dean Carver was fired for ignoring discrimination. A third-party equity firm was hired to overhaul policies, and my festival demo won the coding competition, securing a full scholarship to UT Austin. Lauren faced expulsion, her father's donations unable to save her, and she was sent to a private reform program in Dallas. The mural stood untouched, a symbol of victory, but the cost my dad's job threat. My emotional scars weighed heavy. I channeled my energy into a new program, blending tech and Ottawa martial arts to empower marginalized students. Mr. Coleman, the 60-year-old custodian, coached the martial arts, his kickboxing expertise grounding the group, while Jaden led coding workshops, teaching kids to build their own apps. At the East Austin Community Center, 3 miles from Hillcrest, our first class drew 20 students, Black, Latinx, Asian X, finding strength in movement and code. "You're building a legacy," Mr. Coleman said, his weathered face proud, echoing Mom's Ottawa victories. The cultural festival became an annual event, its second year, drawing 1,000 attendees. My Ottawa performance closing the night to thunderous applause. My podcast, Unheard Voices, hit 100,000 downloads, inspiring a national youth activism network, with Austin teens sharing stories of resilience. A new mural project, funded by the city, spread across downtown, depicting diverse Austinite. My design at its heart. Lauren's downfall revealed her complexity. Her mother, Ellen Mitchell, approached me after the board meeting, her eyes weary. "I failed her," she said, her voice low. "I competed against your mom in a dance contest years ago. She won, and I let my bitterness shape Lauren." Her confession added a layer to Lauren's hatred, a generational echo of resentment, but it didn't excuse her. She'd been a queen whose throne was built on fear, her cruelty a shield for her insecurity, and her expulsion was a consequence she couldn't outrun. Chloe joined my mentorship program, her guilt transforming into advocacy, while Jaden became a true friend. His coding workshops a bridge across Hillcrest's divides. Ms. Patel led a restructured diversity council, ensuring incidents like mine wouldn't be dismissed, her fierce advocacy a beacon for change. As summer approached, I stood in our apartment, Dad beside me, his tired eyes bright with pride. "You changed this place, Amari," he said, his calloused hand squeezing mine. I opened Mom's journal, finding her final words. "The warrior's victory is harmony, not conquest." I'd entered Hillcrest as an outsider, my looks and scholarship marking me for judgment, but I'd transformed it, not with anger but with evidence, allies, and my mother's legacy. The mural, the mentorship program, the festival, they were my victories, shared with those who'd been silenced. I reflected on my journey, the pain of Lauren's attacks, the betrayal of Jaden's slip, the weight of Dad's sacrifices. I'd learned that resilience isn't just enduring, it's building something better. Racial stereotypes had painted me as less, colorism had mocked my dark skin, high school hierarchies had isolated me, and misjudgments based on my appearance had dismissed my worth. But I'd fought back with Mom's Ottawa, my app's truth, and a community's strength, turning pain into progress. I looked out at Austin's skyline. the mural's colors vibrant against the dusk, and felt Mom's spirit in me. My lessons were clear. Document injustice relentlessly, because evidence speaks louder than tears. Embrace your heritage because it's a source of power, not shame, and build alliances because no fight is won alone. I'd turned Hillcrest's hostility into a space where others could thrive, and that was my greatest triumph. If you were in a similar situation, facing racial stereotypes, colorism, high school social hierarchies, or misjudgment based on appearance, how would you approach it to achieve the best possible outcome? Would you document, create, or unite, turning your pain into a legacy that lifts others? I stood ready for the next chapter, my mother's necklace warm against my heart, knowing I'd already won by choosing harmony over hate.